Infrastructure that moves crops through markets in the U.S. is in constant need of attention. That includes the river systems. We'll get some details of projects planned on the waterways this morning. And if you haven't been keeping up with the work of this Farm Journal writer, sit back and get ready to hear what you've been missing.
Live back to full agri-strength via Farm Journal Studios. This is AgriTalk. This morning we'll begin with a conversation with U.S. Congressman Sam Graves. Then it's Farm Journal's own Chris Bennett. Directly following the news, Karen Bonert from Farm Journal's Milk. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson, and now the host of AgriTalk, Jeff Flory.
Who is that familiar voice that I hear on the other end
buddy.
of this radio?
Hey. It's me.
Is it you, Davis Michelson? Oh,
it's your
my
pal,
gosh.
Davis Michelson here on AgriTalk. Bro, the good people of Hermann, Missouri opened their arms wide. The Rhineland of the Midwest fed us well, had delicious libations, wonderful entertainment, plenty to do. I don't know. You're lucky I came back at all, bro. I got to be honest. I love you. I love our beloved audience, but dang.
Oh. Sounds awesome.
It was crazy good. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, sounds absolutely awesome. Well, we are glad to have you back. I'll admit, I was kind of hoping that getting you back would get rid of what has been a free fall in the soybean market, but you're not working any magic quite yet.
Well,
we've still got some sharp losses going in the soybean market. That's weighing on corn and wheat futures too. We'll get the latest on that from Brian Grady at the bottom of the hour. We've got WRDA to cover, the Water Resource Development Act with Sam Graves from Missouri. Looking forward to that conversation. And Chris Bennett. We've got Chris Bennett on the show. Dude, have you seen the work that he's been doing?
He's so prolific. I have a hard time keeping up. I don't know what the new stuff is. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to know. I'm assuming you have. I'm hoping you have.
I have. I absolutely have. I was all right. I think I got my technical issues all worked out over here. Dang it.
Show falls apart. I'm gone like, a day, maybe two.
And we forget how to do things. Yeah. We forget how to do things. It's crazy. All right. Heads up. South central Iowa, you've got some severe thunderstorms that are already making their way through your part of the world. There's some other storms in west central Iowa, all the way up to, call it west central Minnesota. There's another line of showers that are making their way through southeast Kansas. Another severe thunderstorm warning on the Illinois-Indiana border just north of Evansville. I mean, dude, it's happening. There's another severe storm between Bristol and Knoxville. So heads up all over the place. And this is the first wave of what could be 3 waves today. So there's a lot happening out there. Okay. Heads up. All right, buddy, let's quickly get to the news.
Yeah, man. The National Weather Service, as you said, scattered strong to severe storms will be possible across portions of the middle Mississippi Valley as well as across the central Dakotas. Heavy to excessive rainfall may bring flooding to the mid-Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio valleys. Oh, and let's throw in the northern mid-Atlantic to that as well. Hot to excessively hot temperatures are expected over the central and southern plains much of this week. Chip, I don't know about your world, but in my world, it was hot over the weekend, and it continues this morning.
Absolutely, it does. And more heat, the hottest of the heat coming tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some crop progress report highlights. This as of July 28, corn 68% good to excellent. That's up a point. 77% silking, 30% dough. That compares to 22% on average. Soybeans 67% good to excellent. That's behind last week by a point. 77% blooming and 44% setting pods. On your spring wheat, we're looking at 74% good to excellent, down from 77 last week. 94% headed and 1% harvested. Cotton, 49% good to excellent, 87% squaring, 54% setting bulls. And winter wheat, 82% harvested, Chip. That compares to 80% on average.
Yep. Yeah, everything's just a few days ahead of the average is what we're basically looking at there across the board.
Well, crop consultant Dr. Michael Cordonnier left his corn yield and production forecasts unchanged on the week, noting July was generally favorable for corn pollination. He kept his soybean yield and production estimates steady, while warning August weather must remain favorable to achieve strong yields. Chip, the Wall Street Journal reports manufacturers are laying off employees and reducing production to manage falling orders and rising inventories. This deceleration follows pandemic-induced supply imbalances and rapid shifts in consumer demand.
Happening in agriculture very much.
Indeed. Yep. The U.S. national debt has reached a new milestone, surpassing $35 trillion for the first time yesterday. For perspective, Chip, the national debt was around $907 billion with a B just 4 decades ago. Yeah. Foreign and direct investment into China plunged 29.1% from a year ago. During the first half of this year, that's a record decline for the period. The GDP in the Eurozone expanded 0.3% on a quarterly basis and 0.6% annually in the second quarter. That's the largest annual gain in 5 quarters. And finally, Chip, pay attention, everybody. As of mid-2024, diesel prices have been on a downward trajectory. In June, the average price for a gallon of diesel was $3.72. That's the lowest level in 2 years, but that's highway diesel. Looking over to number 2, Ruby Red Farm Diesel, we are $3 and below in Iowa and Illinois. Chip.
All right. Thank you very much, Davis. Let's bring in Karen Bonert, editor, Farm Journal's Milk. Good morning, Karen.
Hey, Chip. It's been a while.
Yes, it certainly has. And brand new on www.dairyherd.com, talking about it's not easy to grow your dairy, is it?
It's not. I think the idea is easy, right?
Yeah.
And especially now, I would say as milk prices picking up a little bit, it's the idea of, okay, do we add cows? But the milk production report, Chip, is not showcasing much growth. In fact, it's been negative. And I think that Stephen Kane with National Milk Producers Federation, he's pointed out several factors that really limit growth for producers. And the big one is the dairy heifer availability and the cost. You and I've had conversations about this, and it's ongoing, Chip. With those strong beef prices, and personally, we still have a waiting list here for our crossbred calves. So it's hard to have a huge surplus of replacement dairy heifers when you're getting real hard money for crossbred calves on day one. And 1,000 cow dairy, Chip, who utilizes beef on dairy can project around $100,000 in income from those crossbred calves this year. I challenge people. It's hard to find a better investment portfolio than beef on dairy right now. And so when you look at growth, interest rates, the feds are toying with lowering interest rates, but all that math sometimes doesn't add up to make the expansion or growth easy right now. And borrowing money isn't cheap as it was 36 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, you got that exactly right. But it's not stopping dairies from innovating and finding new ways to generate cash. Like you said, the beef on dairy is a great example of that. And I would anticipate that there's going to be even more of that type of innovation going forward. So we'll be looking for you to fill us in on it, okay? Thanks, Karen.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Chip.
You bet. Karen Bonert, that with Farm Journal's Milk. Go to www.dairyherd.com for more. We've got Sam Graves, the U.S. representative, next.
We don't make the news, we render it. AgriTalk.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. Glad that you are with me this morning. Glad that Davis is back and with me as well, buddy.
Aw, shucks, buddy. Good to be here.
Yeah. Again, just a heads up on some of the weather that's happening out there. We've got that line of showers happening in southeast Kansas, central Iowa, from north to south. Be very much aware there is some severe thunderstorm warnings in place for south central Iowa right now, but that line of showers and storms makes its all the way back up to west central Minnesota. A line of showers and severe weather bearing down on Vincennes right now, going through Robinson, Illinois, just south of Terre Haute, Indiana. So heads up there, and then between Bristol and Knoxville, right around Rogersville, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in far northeast Tennessee. So big problems out there, and it's not the only wave that we are going to see on the radar today, Davis. We've got plenty of weather coming our way.
Well, and that heat, I mean, we know what that heat does this time of year. Sometimes it breaks, and when it does, it can break rather violently and rather quickly, I would also say.
Right. Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt. Okay, before we get Congressman Graves on here, he's still trying to make contact with him. He's down there in northwest Missouri, and might be having a little difficulty finding the cell signal, is what it sounds like. Davis, we had Senator Grassley on the show yesterday, talked about some key issues. And one of the reasons I was so looking forward to having him on is because when we talk about an American historian, you've got to mention Senator Grassley. He is a keeper of the books when it comes to American history. And here we are living through the middle of it. And it's pretty heady times, isn't it?
Well, it really is. And it's a little bit easier to manage, perhaps, if one is comfortable within their own skin, know what you stand for and know why when the sands are shifting. Boy, Senator Grassley has been a great resource for us for, I mean, the whole time we've been on the air, basically, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, and it's been a long time since we've been on the air.
Yep.
I think I can go ahead and preview a little something that we're going to do later this week. Should we do that right now? Yeah.
I don't know. Giving away the farm, are we here?
No, not giving away the farm, just giving people something to look forward to.
Well, we need that.
Thursday, August 1st. Thursday, August 1st is the 30th anniversary of AgriTalk, the morning hour of AgriTalk. The 30th anniversary, dude.
Why do we say anniversary and not birthday? I mean, an anniversary, there may or may not be cake, a birthday, there will be cake.
But always cake.
I just go with the cake.
That's right. Well, if you want to make sure that you've got some cake, go ahead and get that all set up and have it sitting on your desk as we get ready for that. Okay.
Okay. Done deal.
But Thursday morning, we are going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of AgriTalk. And that means we're going to have the original host back. Ken Root is going to be on. And the guy that preceded me, Mike Adams. Mike Adams is going to be back. Former producer John Harrith will be with us as well. And we will be talking about some of the some of the things that make AgriTalk different today than what it was when it started 30 years ago.
Oh, and
some of the issues that Ken recalls covering on a regular basis in the early 90s. Some of the issues that Mike had to keep going back to. I mean, for us, the answer, I think, is pretty obvious, Davis, since you and I have taken this thing over. And have been leading the conversations on AgriTalk for the last 5+ years. It has been all about biofuels and making sure that the biofuels industry has got things covered and ready to go. Okay,
Yep.
We've got Representative Sam Graves with us right now. He joins us. Congressman, it's great to talk with you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Good. Now, Congressman Graves is the chairman of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which is responsible for the Water Resource Development Act of 2024, WRDA. It passed the House with a phenomenal tally, Congressman, 359 to 13. What do we need to know about what's in WRDA?
I'm very proud of the bill. It's a very good bill. It obviously, and what WRDA does is it directs the Corps when it comes to management of our inland waterways, and of course we have port infrastructure in there and everything along with that. But what our main goal was to make sure that navigation and flood control are the top priorities when we're managing the river, and not some of the various other things that in many cases come into play. And I thought we had a fantastic bill, and now we obviously are working out differences with the Senate, and I think we can get this thing passed in a timely manner.
Well, we talk about the need for bipartisan work all the time. A 359 yes vote on this bill. You talk about bipartisan support. You got to be proud of that.
I'm very proud of it. And when we passed FAA reauthorization, which is one of the biggest bills that the Transportation Committee and Congress does, I was able to get that through with 361 votes. And so you look at that and the track record with my committee. We're a work committee. We're not a show committee. And I stress that to our members all of the time. And my partner in the process, Rick Larson, who's the Democrat ranking member on the committee, we told our members from the very beginning that if you want to get your face on TV or your name in the headlines for saying something, wild or outrageous, then go down the hall to the Oversight Committee or the Judiciary Committee, because we got too much work to do in the Transportation Committee and a lot of reauthorizations to get finished.
Very cool. Very cool. What are some of the projects or reauthorizations in this bill that agriculture needs to know about, Congressman?
Well, we're still working through levee repairs from the flood a couple of years ago and going through that process. But we want to make sure that communities are taken care of, and that that's the priority. That people and not fish and birds are the priorities, and we take care of these communities. We take care of these levee districts, and I want to make it easier to get repairs done quicker, rather than dragging everything out and taking forever. And I will say this about the Corps, at least in Northwest Missouri, with all the levee damage we had from 2 years ago, they worked very hard to get those repairs done very, very quickly. We still got work to do. But just watching how quickly they responded was a pleasant surprise.
Cool. Very cool. I got to talk a little current events with you here in just the minute or so that we've got left. Talk to me about the protests that happened in Washington, D.C. last week. Some of the images from that protest, the burning of the American flag, the Palestinian flag being raised on U.S. federal property, vandalism on the Freedom Bell. Does this deserve a J6 type response?
I'll tell you, of course, we do protect freedom of speech in this country, but there are certain limits to that. And just the fact that we have people in the United States that want to disrespect and burn the United States flag in the U.S. Capitol is horribly, it's disgraceful, it's disturbing, and we need some patriotism, and we need some pride in this country, and the fact that we have people here that are willing to buy in to crap that they read on the internet and buy into what many of our enemies are doing, and that is manipulating opinion through social media. It's very disturbing. It really is. And so many of these people are just simply being used.
That's exactly right. Netanyahu said it pretty well. They're useful idiots all of a sudden. And something that we need to We need some action on that. That would be, I think, the message from AgriTalk listeners to every congressman, every senator that I'm talking to. That's the message. We need some action. Sam Graves, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chip.
Council.
Time for Markets Now with the experts from Pro Farmer.
Joining us now, Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. Beej, I was hoping that getting Davis back here in the studio and on the show would stem some of the selling pressure on the soy complex, but it's not working, dude.
Nah. Davis obviously isn't the secret formula here. Anyway, but I wish he was too. Just not the case. So, heavy pressure on soybeans here at mid-morning, 16 to 18 cents lower most of the contracts. Corn's about a nickel lower. But this is pretty broad-based. I think the key right now is that corn and soybeans are both holding above yesterday's lows. If we take out those levels of support, then it probably turns into even a bigger wave of selling, and because you'll get some of the technical-based selling pressure coming into the market at that point.
Yeah, I just looked at the Novi Bean chart. It's got an inside day going. That could end up being constructive. But boy, you don't want to see that support at yesterday's low giveaway, like you just explained. Pressure on soybean meal, pressure on soybean oil. The wheat market is also slow. Modestly lower here this morning. Take us over to the livestock trade. Finally, some mixed trade in the live cattle.
Yeah, pretty quiet actually. Trading on both sides of unchanged, like you mentioned. Front end of live cattle futures and the feeder cattle market, for that matter, are trading to the upside with deferred contracts under some pressure, but nothing heavy by any means there. Just a really kind of quiet and choppy morning of trade so far, and pretty much the same as the case in the hog market. We've got the August contract trading to the upside on support, continued support from gains in the cash index and the pork cutout value. So, the cash fundamentals there continue to strengthen, and then a little bit of pressure in the deferred lean hog futures.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady on Markets Now.
Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. The best talkers in ag, including you. Join the conversation on AgriTalk. Call us at 855-4-TALK-AG.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm Chip Flory. Glad that you're with us. Davis is here as well. And joining us is Farm Journal wordsmith Chris Bennett. Chris, it's great to talk with you, buddy. How are you?
Hey, Chip, back at you, Davis. It's a blessing, privilege to be on here with y'all.
Excellent. Glad that you are here. Chris, I'm looking at the headlines that you have generated for Farm Journal and agweb.com in just the last month. And I'm not exactly sure how you're getting all of these stories done, but I'm sure glad you're on our side, brother. This is really, really some fascinating, spectacular, and great work that you are doing. I want to start with just give me the highlights of the story that's out there today, how the deep state tried and failed to crush an American farmer. What a read, man.
Chip's one of the wildest stories in agriculture history. Arguably also, it's very unique in American history. You got a average fella in the boot heel of Missouri. This elevator went bankrupt, and instead of sitting back and waiting for the courts to determine what he got, right, we're talking 30,000 plus bushels. This is in roughly 1980.
Yep.
He and several other farmers simply went into the elevator and declared to the FBI, declared to the U.S. Marshal Service, we're going in to get our beans, period. And he did so. And when he did, it triggered a series of trials and prosecutions. The judiciary to the bureaucracy went wild. They put him up on one grand jury on charges of interfering with a marshal. That jury let him go. They acquitted him, the grand jury did. I'm not sure if acquittal's the right word, but then there were two more trials after that in Arkansas, and the jury let him skate on both. So many rabbit trails in the Wayne Kreitz tale. Many of your listeners may remember him and many not. He is absolutely worth taking a look at in light of the last 10 years in government regulations and government pursuit of individuals. Kreitz is a standalone farmer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Chris, here's what it did for me. The story. I'm knocking on the door 60 years old. So in 1980, I was 15. And I remember it. So the crisis, and I remember how the farm crisis turned into a banking crisis, which turned into an elevator crisis because the banks were coming after anything and everything that they could if there was any value out there at all. And in so many cases, the banks came after these elevators, which took the dominoes started falling. And I remember seeing that, Chris, but it's the story is so well told. I cannot recommend it enough to listeners to go to AgWeb and give this story a read. Okay, let's go to another one. The crop gangster story, the $1 million farm Ponzi scheme. Tell me about this story.
This just happened. Chip, a lot of the time when we hear about ag crime, the assumption is made that the crime took place in 1960 or 1910. It's simply not the case. This one, for example, took place, I believe, in 2015. There were two grifters out of Oklahoma and in Bartlesville, and they approached farmers with a buy-in Ponzi. It was the classic buy-in scheme of you pay me X amount of dollars, $10,000, and I will buy what you produce in perpetuity. But the unique thing about their Ponzi was that they built it on top of tilapia fish and aquaponic vegetables and quail eggs, and then also penny stocks. And to back up their claims of buyback in perpetuity, they declared that they had contracts for the quail eggs with Carnival Cruise, and they said that there was an airstrip there outside Bartlesville where the emirs of Dubai and the royalty of Saudi Arabia literally were going to fly in and buy the product. So they reeled in 80, 90 farmers from Arkansas. I believe some were even in Illinois, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and they got the ball rolling up to $1 million in income. And they made one mistake in the Ponzi, and that was they weren't able to pay off the people at the bottom layer. In other words, the people that first bought in produced too much fish right out of the gate, and it collapsed the whole pyramid. They were never prosecuted. They were brought up on charges, essentially brought up on civil business charges, but there was no money to reclaim for any of the producers involved. I think everybody got back something like 2 cents on the dollar, something outrageous.
Right. Tilapia, Saudis, Carnival Cruises, penny stocks, quail eggs. How do you connect all the dots on a story like that? But you do it, and you do it very well. Now, those are a couple of stories that are, they're interesting to read. But Chris also gets work done that is absolutely positively necessary to read. Property owner rights, Chris, has been something that you have been focused on, and you did it again here just in the last month or so. Talk to me about the warrantless search powers.
Chip, it's a basic question that we have to ask ourselves as Americans. The government and its warrantless search powers, where does that apply? Does that apply at your place of business? And of course, you and me and most Americans would respond, it does not. Now, there are certain places, like a mine, for example, where the government does have the right to go in and inspect warrantlessly. But otherwise, you're not supposed to do that. And there is a fellow training bird dogs in Kansas that has taken the state of Kansas, Kansas Department of Agriculture, to court and said, y'all can't show up at my place of business and demand access to my property.
Yeah.
without just cause. And so that's going to go up the chain of the court system. I don't know where it's going to go, but these basic questions, after years of government expansion, people are asking these questions. They're asking, hey, I can read the Constitution. I can read my state constitution as well. And I'm not seeing all of this code inside there from whence it comes, so to speak. And that's where we're headed. Chip, for example, I've got a story coming in the next few weeks on a fella out in California, a producer that allowed his farm manager to reside, to live in a trailer on his property. When the county found out, they came in there and hit him with $1,000 per day fines. He is now entering court, entering litigation. The state came after him because he was allowing his farm manager to live on his private property, which out there in his county, Santa Clara County, was against code. These stories are they're numerous. And again, the only ones I hear about, the only ones we hear about are the ones that get contested and go to court. The rest of them get rolled under the floorboards.
Yep. That's exactly right. And Chris has got a report on a swamp buster challenge by an Iowa farmland owner as well. That's on agweb.com. So go and check it out. We got to end with this. Dude, how did I almost end up being a hippo rancher?
You tell me. People have got to realize, the USDA had a plan 1910. It was a very serious plan. It died in committee in Washington, D.C. But USDA, congressional representative also from Louisiana, had a genuine plan to bring hippopotamuses to the South to raise for meat production. They were also going to do the same thing out west with other animals such as rhinos, possibly giraffes. They were going to bring different kind of deer species up to the northern states and the colder climes. And they fortunately couldn't get the ball rolling on this, but it would have been the wildest, invasive scandal, surely, in our nation's history. It doesn't sound like it would be true. It is true.
Well, and the hippos were going to come in to fix another problem that they had created with an invasive plant species that took over the swamps in the South, right?
Right. Chip, this is literally the most dangerous, if you go by death total, hippo is the most dangerous animal on the planet. And these boys got in front of the Congressional Ag Committee and told them that this would be a very docile creature, prone to taming very quick. In other words, hey, Chip, put this on your farm. Maybe you can even put your kids in charge of the hippos. It'll all be good.
Yep. Let's get the halter out, and we're going to have us a hippo show at the county fair. That's what it's going to turn into, buddy. It's crazy. Chris, okay, you given us a little bit of a highlight or a preview of what you're working on next. You've got the California issue. Anything else? What else are you sniffing around on? Real quick.
Yeah, in the next month, I've got a scandal coming out of organic farming and some liquid fertilizer that it looks like, I can't remember, this is not an imprecise number, but $70-80 million fraud. Again, a scheme, and it'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Chris, you do such a great job with these stories. They're in-depth, they're complete, they're a full read. And when you get done with it, you're not left wanting anything. Good stuff, Chris. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank y'all. Have a great day. Take care. Bye now.
You bet. Chris Bennett from Farm Journal right here on AgriTalk. Davis and I will be right back.
The truth is hard to come by these days unless you listen to AgriTalk. And thank you for tuning in to AgriTalk, everyone. Your pal Davis Michelson here with you, along with Chip Flory, of course, your beloved host. Let's see, where do you want to start? Okay, here we go. Pressure on soybeans continues through the morning. In fact, it looks like maybe extending some Some losses here a little bit. The November contract down 17.5, September down 18.25. Chip, you asked me at the top of the show what I was going to do about it.
Yeah.
I have a solution.
Good.
I can't promise it'll work. I can't promise it will work, but I can promise that I will do my darndest and probably sweat while I'm doing it. Are you ready for my solution?
I am.
Look out central northern Missouri. On Friday evening this week at some unnamed burg, they're holding a soybean festival. And I will be bringing my buddies from the Dueling Piano Crew out to the soybean festival to entertain, to amaze, to astound. And with a little bit of luck, maybe the soybean market will respond to the upside. I don't know.
It's worth a try.
Music is mysterious, bro. Nobody knows how it works. It's true.
You're right.
You can't draw a picture of it. No.
Oh, so anyway, man, how do you color it? Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's not easy.
It's difficult.
Not easy.
So awesome. If you happen to be in north central Missouri and you're like, hey, I think there's a soybean festival in my town that's going to have piano weirdos. Ha! I'm that guy. I'll see you there. Come on down.
Nice.
Secondly, hippo meat, huh? Have you ever tried hippo meat?
No. I can't say that I have ever had the delight of trying hippopotamus, but there you go. We almost had imports of. Can you imagine those critters running around down in the South?
No,
we got hogs. That's bad enough.
Well, yes. I think we may need to be careful. I don't know what the gestation period is or how quickly a hippo herd can grow exponentially, but I bet it's a bit longer than that of feral hogs. Yeah.
I'll bet it's like a horse.
Yeah. That'd be my guess.
Aren't they like water horses?
I don't think so. No, I think you're thinking about giraffes, which are land horses, actually. You're thinking of land horses, which I would think would probably taste a little bit like antelope. Now, I know you've probably had antelope, right?
Yes. Now, if you decide to go ahead and Google gestation period of a hippo, just be ready for some of the pictures that might come along with it, okay?
Let's have the parental blocker filter on that when we
search. Right. I'm a little surprised that my work computer made it through. 243 days. 243 days, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Okay. Representative Sam Graves has got the right idea. You got to prioritize people sometimes. Maybe not always, but probably. And he said it. He said it plain. We've got to prioritize people over birds and fishes.
Yep. And it's not that you go out of your way to destroy the habitat for those birds or those fishes, but
of course not.
But let's put human priorities at the top of the list. And yes, I'm in full agreement. There have been some projects on the Mississippi River. There have been some projects on the Columbia River in the Northwest that are just mind-boggling over how much of a challenge it is created for people just to make sure that some fish can climb a ladder or whatever it is. And I understand. It's important. I understand it. But let's find some alternatives for the fish rather than alternatives for the people. And I think that's what I hear Congressman Graves saying. Yeah,
absolutely. And it was good to hear, and then to hear him sort of referencing being at the grindstone. He's doing his work in committee, focused on the task at hand. And that's something that I don't necessarily see a whole lot of coming out of Washington. I mean, the guy was calling from, out in the field, for crying out loud. He wasn't in the Washington bubble. He's out there, and he's talking about people, dude.
That's right. And he got 359 yes votes for this bill. 359 to 13.
Yeah.
I don't know who the 13 are that voted against it, but they are, I can tell you this, they are people that have made a conscious decision to create divisiveness. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they weren't on board for this WRDA when you got 359 that are, you're just out to make trouble. That's all you're doing.
I feel like if divisiveness is all you have to offer the process, you probably don't have a plan of your own.
That's right.
Or at least a feasible plan of your own.
Create chaos. That's the plan.
Yeah. Don't look at this hand that's doing the good stuff. Look at this hand. This one's shiny, and it makes you angry.
We don't need anybody inside of that chamber. Well, I shouldn't say it this way. And I was going to say we don't need anybody inside the chamber creating chaos. That is not to say that there shouldn't be arguments on the floor of the House, okay? Mm-hmm. It's the people's house. We don't all agree. If there needs to be an argument, let's have the argument, but let's do it with some civility. Yep. Instead, chaos is not the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And we've got enough chaos happening in D.C., dude. We don't need the people's elected officials adding to that chaos. We just don't need it. We don't need it.
Here's a question. Do you need more Amazon boxes on your front porch? Amazon significantly expanding its fast delivery services to rural areas in the U.S., aiming to improve its logistics network and enhance customer satisfaction. Look out, Chip. You may have a delivery coming soon.
Dude, I've had 18 this month, and there's more on the way, I am sure.
Well, you tell Mrs. Flory Amazon's going to get it there more quickly than ever before.
Oh, that's just fantastic. It just leaves more time for ordering other stuff is what it does. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully Mrs. Flory was not to that part of it. Come back this afternoon. We're going to have a conversation with Garrett Toy from Ag Trader Talk. Tomorrow morning, we got the Farmer Forum with Davis right here on AgriTalk.
And nothing that I don't know.